Special co-host Dave Seibert is filling in this week to talk about new security solutions from Sophos, WatchGuard, and Avast Business. Learn how to crack the sales code with BTA, the 2019 All-Stars, and much more. It's ChannelPro Weekly, episode 119. Reach out and help someone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to ChannelPro Weekly, episode 119. My name is Matt Whitlock, technology editor, online director, and your host of this fine audio-visual program aimed at you. And who do I mean by you? I mean the VARs, the IT resellers, the integrators, the MSPs, the MSSPs, the MSSCPCPCs, all of those acronyms and more. If you know what any of those meant, you are in the right place. Also in the right place this week is our guest host. That's right. Mr. Rich Freeman is not available this week. He is out traveling and just couldn't work out a time that works. But it even works out better for us because when Rich is away, Dave Seibert, the man, comes out to play. So please welcome Dave Seibert, CIO for IT Innovators and CEO for SMB Tech Fest and the Pro Tier Peer Groups. It's a lot of hats. Welcome, Dave.
Hey, Matt, glad to be here as always.
Yeah, so many of you who have been watching or listening for a long time should be pretty well familiar with Dave. He's been on with us several times. He's helped co-host a few times. And it is always just a blast every time you're on, man. I'm so appreciative for you coming on this week.
Always fun. And let me tell you, you and Rich really have a great program. So I'm flattered to be part of it. So
thank you so much.
Join the fun.
I would say stop, but I really don't want you to. I will wrap myself in compliments like a cozy blanket.
Nice.
Because that's how I roll. So Dave, for those who also don't know Dave, or maybe have never been to any of our shows, and Dave has a live show coming up too that we're going to talk about later on in the show. But Dave is also usually present at our ChannelPro SMB Forum events that we have. And you often find your way onto a panel and other things there. And Dave is just not only a funny, hilarious, nice guy to talk to, but he knows a thing or two, let me tell you. So another good reason to come out to the ChannelPro SMB Forum events. Now, Dave, you're coming to Newark, right?
I am. I'm going to be there. I wouldn't miss it. I think I'm actually at every show this year, last year, and you're right. I get the opportunity, which is awesome, to share and talk either on a panel or some other form or fashion. And normally talking, security, IoT, how to improve your business, something that gives traction to partners.
Very cool. Now you've been, I'm going to hold off on that because we're going to do a Q&A with Dave Seibert session later on. So we're going to ask you all kinds of fun and interesting questions. But for those who maybe aren't familiar with you, who may be new to the show or haven't caught one of the episodes where you've been on, can you kind of give us a quick overview of like who you are, what you do, how you do it, what kind of cereal you like to eat for breakfast, that kind of thing?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. I haven't eaten cereal in years, but when I was a kid, I loved Fruit Loops.
Ooh, Fruit Loops are good.
Oh my gosh. So Frosted Flakes. Boy, that goes back a ways. But
it's funny, Dave? Every cereal now, it's basically like dessert for breakfast. My kids eat like cookies and cream with marshmallows, and it's basically like, how much sugar can we cram into a plastic bag?
Oh my gosh, it's like 95% sugar. And what was it? Tony the Tiger? Oh my gosh. But now in my quote later years, it's all about that turkey sausage patty for breakfast,
Yeah. Gotta protect the old ticker,
So the sugar's gone by the wayside, and oh my gosh, and cereal's out the door and protein's in, right? So my intro is kind of fun in a way. So I chose technology. It's my passion. It's what I love to do, and I just say it's been more than 30 years, and kind of stop counting there. Matter of fact, when we get to the museum piece, you'll have an idea. because it goes back to about 1979 on our museum piece, which I have firsthand experience with. And but fast forwarding, I'm just really engaged in our community, our partner community, our technology community. It's what I love to do. So as you mentioned already, IT Innovators, we're a managed service provider. And likewise, I'm involved in various other things, including SMB TechFest trade show and pro-tier peer groups for larger partners, and several organizations around the U.S. that I either helped create or I'm just involved in them. And I've really been blessed. The things that are really exciting is I've been a Microsoft influencer for quite a few years, a Microsoft MVP for quite a few years, and I've just been recognized with some nice leadership awards. But this is really a fantastic industry. If you have any part of ADD, which I'm sure I do, technology is great because it's always changing. You can never really be fully up on it. And you really can't change as fast as it changes because business requires stability, and technology and stability don't go together.
That's true.
And hence it's always a challenge. And that's why all of us with ChannelPro events, et cetera, you can never get enough of it because we need to really know what's happening, what's on the bleeding edge so we can talk intelligently to our client base, but also how's everybody else pulling it together and making it happen since it is kind of a crazy industry. And that's kind of my story in a nut. No pun intended.
Yeah, and that's a lot of recognition there with the Microsoft MVP and Microsoft influencer. Like when you go out, like people got to give you respect, you know.
Well, I don't know if I can go that far, but it's really great.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. We are going to run through some news stories from this week, and I will put on my best Rich Freeman impersonation as I kind of walk through those, and we'll talk about some of those. And I can't think of another guy better to talk about some of these things, because you'll have, I'm sure, plenty of insight to offer.
Let's punt. Yep. Especially without Rich, right?
Right. And you know what? And if we get bored with the news, it's just you and me. We can do whatever we want. This is our show now. What's up?
I like it.
All right. Also coming up, we got cracking the sales code with this is an article from Josh Peterson that we'll get to. The 2019 ChannelPro All-Stars we'll talk about, and we've got a Dave's Museum pick, as you mentioned, which will be fun, and more. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first news story that we're going to talk about is about Sophos. So Sophos is entering the security services market with a new managed threat offering. So it's called Sophos Managed Threat Response. It's designed to augment the capabilities of channel pros who can't afford to build and maintain their own SOC and then like staff it with people. So users of Sophos MTR also have to deploy that new Intercept X deep learning next generation endpoint security system that we talked about last October. And I'm sure some people watching or listening have used that. So it combines those with the new MTR service and kind of enables you to collect real-time intelligence with skilled human analysis, as they say, resulting in faster and more accurate identification and disruption. There's two response modes. It integrates with Sophos Central, which is their cloud-based management console. And it is priced out per employee rates for 1, 2, and 3-year terms. Pricing varies between the editions that you choose. So, Mr. Dave, Sophos entering security services. What do you think?
Awesome. You know, it's funny. Every time I hear the word Sophos, which most of us have known for a lot of years, I now naturally think of Scott Barlow as he's on board with them for quite some time. And good things happen over there. And, you know, the MTR is now vital. It used to be that if you just had a firewall, you were good. And sure, you layered in antivirus. But the problem is that with the cloud threats that are now here, well, I say now here, they've been here for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But with the ransomware, with the attacks, with the breaches, you really need to kind of tackle things before it hits your on-prem equipment. So I think that absolutely by having a cloud solution is the way to go. And MTR is like the hot thing. So I'm excited to see Sophos do that. And it's absolutely not, it's twofold. Number one is to try to block the attacks. Number two is that if something squeaks through, be able to identify it. And I think that's really the big thing about these tools. They help you identify when somebody squeaked by, and you can do something about it. Versus, I think, I won't get the stat exactly right, but it's something like 180 days is what the average business time lapses from the time that they were infiltrated until they discover it. so I mean, you think seriously, but it's a real stat. It's really close to that. So any cloud tool that helps cut down that time frame dramatically is a winner.
Yeah, and so this does not look like it's a completely homegrown solution. This is drawing on technology that they acquired through purchases of a couple different detection and response vendors, Rook Security and Dark Bytes. Did you ever hear anything about those or use those services?
No,
I didn't either. But it looks like they picked them up and then they've kind of rolled them into this new service. Now, there are other MTR offerings out there. Who are they competing with?
Oh my gosh. There's I would say a couple players, but it's becoming a crowded field in a good way. So Critical Start is in that arena. Oh my gosh. I was going to say Black. It'll come to me in a minute. I totally forgot their name. But in the last 18 months, it's really become a hot thing. Again, especially if you're an MSP delivering services out to a client. Used to be you didn't need this. Now you do. So whoever's tool you're using, let's face it, it's a challenge when you layer on multiple tools, meaning multiple vendors. So whenever a vendor has a suite and it's included in the suite, then it's the way to go, right?
Yeah, and there's lots of other there's a lot of like SOC as a service kind of companies. Now they're trying to position this differently and say that they're more or less focused on just the alerting side and a little bit more focused on the response and taking actions. That's their corporate line is. I would say pretty much most SOC.
Right, and it makes sense because most MSPs they don't have the resource. So there's two real problems. The first one is the sheer number of alerts. It's imagine if everything that really hit event viewer and firewall logs, and you received all of that and tried to go through it, you do nothing in your life but read logs. and furthermore, to investigate it, interrogate it, to see if it's something of worthy news or not, you just can't do it. And so that's the first thing. The second one is,
Dave, you know how you deal with that though. Just if you get too many alerts, you just turn them off. Yeah. Problem solved.
It's totally true. I mean, it's amazing when you turn off the electrical plug, it fixes so many things.
The most secure computer is one that's turned off.
There you go. Oh my gosh. Not even the USB hack works on computers that are turned off. That's
true.
Sweet.
That's true. That's the new security. That's my new security service. I will do security as a service. I will just walk in. I will just turn off all the computers, and I will bill monthly for that.
I like it. And the second challenge is, even if you did identify all the things that are not good, is fixing them. So whenever those are the two critical things. You just can't do it manually. You really can't. So the automation tools and outsourcing a SOC is still the way to go. Nobody really has the budget to do their own SOC. Not that's an MSP. So outsourcing is still the answer.
Yep, I agree. Very cool. Well, we'll put a link to this particular news story, along with all of the news stories and articles that we're going to talk about today. We'll have links in the show notes page on the ChannelProNetwork.com website. So if you're listening and you want to kind of read along as we go through these stories, go to ChannelProNetwork.com, find the show notes page for this episode 119, and it'll all be there. And if you're like watching on YouTube, we put all the links in the description area of the show. So just pop that open, and then there'll be links to all the different stories. So you can kind of follow along as we go through. The next story, so we got a couple of different, we got two different stories we're going to talk about, one with WatchGuard, one with Avast. And I want to kind of talk about them together, Dave, because they're kind of doing the same thing in a sense, but they're just doing it in very, very different ways. So I'm really interested to hear your take on this. So the first one is WatchGuard. They are shipping a DNS security product for mobile users. So what they're saying is it's called a version of its DNS Watch product called DNSWatchGo. Well, that's creative, right? Watch. And now for the mobile users on the go. So what they're discovering, as many people are discovering, that workforces are becoming much more increasingly mobile. You got employees all over the place, and they are not on your network, right? Like you have this great secure network. We have firewalls in place, but they're not behind them. So, you have to protect them when they are not. So this particular service does, it's a cloud-based service, so it works, anywhere that they are. What does it do here? It scans DNS level content filtering, malware protection capabilities. It automatically does like security awareness functionality whenever users click a link. So they'll get blocked if they go to a known malicious site, and then they'll get an educational prompt. In other words, it's like some like cartoon graphic that looks like a first grade school teacher going like this.
Right. Don't go there.
Don't go there. So we've got that. They've got. Okay, so that's what they've got. It's a DNS filtering and kind of security solution on that. And they're not alone in this. I've seen similar services from other providers.
Right. And I got to tell you what's funny is that in our industry, DNS is everything.
Yeah, it is.
And there's a funny saying, if you're a server person and Windows/server person, and something goes wrong, everybody always says, "Did you check DNS?" Because a lot of people don't remember on the server side DNS and WINS and oh my gosh, LM host files and all this bizarre stuff. But if you don't configure a server right, DNS is your enemy because things don't work right. And fast forward ahead, in the internet age, DNS is the secret sauce that really makes everything happen, good and bad. And every time that any of our services run, anytime that anything's running in a browser, cloud-based services, DNS is the name of the game. And, as you were talking, I wrote down really fast. I was like, boy, can I pull these out of my memory really quick? But I loved it. A lot of us used to use DNSs from our ISP. And the problem is that as people travel and you hard-coded your ISP DNSs, it didn't work so well. You jump on a plane, you go to another city, and well, oh my gosh, your local ISP DNS doesn't mean a whole lot anymore.
Right.
And I remember in order, if you ever knew 4.2.2.2, that was like the old SBC, AT&T. Those DNS resolvers worked all over the U.S., and it was logical, meaning wherever you went in the U.S., it found the nearest one. And that was really cool. But it got kind of slow because everybody used it. And then Google came along, 8.8.8.8.
Yep, and 8844.
And easy to remember. And, theirs was all about, speeding things up. But, of course, it's Google, so a lot of things go with that. And yes, because that was their intention, Dave, is they wanted to help everybody resolve DNS faster. Right.
They had no interest in you as a person, where you were going and what you were looking
at.
Or building a profile in which to sell ads against you.
Never. And then, and if you're really up on DNS, you know that in the last less than 12 months, the new kid on the block that's actually kind of cool is Cloudflare, which is 1.1.1.1, 4 ones, if I said that right. And their whole claim to fame is we are the fastest. And my gosh, they really are fast. Because as you know, when you go to a web page, it's no longer about the one web page. It's all about the ads and the content and the sub content. And to get one page down, you might be going to 20, 30 sites to pull content. So anyway, that's the new fast DNS.
Well, and not to mention too that Cloudflare has over the last 5 years, they now cache, I want to say 35-ish% of the internet.
That's
in
amazing.
Their CDN. Yeah.
Now that we said all those things, where WatchGuard comes into play is all of these are nice, but they don't give security. They're all about speed and ease of use, and speed and ease of use is awesome, but security normally goes out the door. And with WatchGuard, it's a whole new generation of DNS, which is putting in there the security layer side of it, i.e., when you go somewhere you shouldn't go. Put up a flag, put up a graphic, put something up, and I love it, especially for mobile. We haven't heard a lot about mobile hacks, not really, volume-wise, and this DNS filtering will help prevent that.
Yeah, I like to relate this to OpenDNS is another one that we didn't really talk about. But if you have like a family at home, like here we hard code OpenDNS's family tier into our router, so that way when the kids are online, it prevents them from going to like naughty things,
Right. And as we all probably know, OpenDNS became part of Cisco under the umbrella name.
Yeah. So so this is very similar to that, except it's not looking for pornographic things like the family filter, but this is looking for known malicious sites and stuff like that, and to give you a little bit of warning. So a good thing, and now I want to contrast this with what Avast has just launched. And what Avast has done is they've launched a cloud-based as-a-service alternative to on-site firewalls. So they have announced a bunch of cloud-based firewalls. So what they're saying is that their new secure internet gateway is what it's called. It's designed to keep end users and devices safe both on and off the corporate network. So they're saying is, well, obviously you can put in firewall appliances in your network and configure them and have your network super safe. But as like WatchGuard was doing, saying, well, what about the people who are not on your network? Well, now they're just saying, why don't we just put the firewall up into the cloud, and then it doesn't matter where you are always on the corporate network. You are always behind the corporate firewall. Right. Very different approach from what WatchGuard is taking, which is just a DNS filter. This is let's get rid of all the on-site appliances, build your firewall, and manage it in the cloud, which is different. So, and I think there's some pros and cons, and I want to talk about what some of those are. But let's talk about what this does. So they're saying it obviously protects mobile users because the firewall is up in the cloud, so everyone's always behind it. It's incredibly fast because most internet traffic is encrypted, and being up in the cloud, it has the horsepower and CPU processing in order to inspect all the encrypted communications without having to have 50 different on-site appliances. This works great in situations where there's for more dispersed organizations where you have lots of mobile sites, where you have lots of mobile branch offices or whatever. They can all be kind of under the same network. It's designed to provide, that says, the same functionality as on-site appliances, including inline inspection of TSL and SSL. I think this was TLS. Maybe is it TSL or TLS, or is it both?
Two different things. So it's both.
Are they two different things? Okay, all right. I'm not going nuts here.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I went nuts a long time ago. Oh no, did my video freeze? Okay, there we go. I'm back.
No, you're still good.
On my end, it froze at me making this really, really weird face, and I'm like, we'll use that as the thumbnail.
As the free frame, exactly, the thumbnail.
So it does all of the traffic inspection, automatic sandboxing of packets that can't be decrypted. So they're saying you put it in your stack and it's not rip and replace. I'm trying to kind of come over to the points here. It's a part of Avast Business Cloud Care, and it's priced flat per user rate. Subscriptions available for 1, 2, or 3 month-to-month purchasing options suited to managed service providers. It's set to arrive in the future. So eventually you'll be able to do month-to-month or offer it month-to-month as an MSP. Okay. So we'll talk
combination. First of all, the name of the game is MRR. So any time that you can have a solution that has a monthly, recurring revenue side to it, both for the vendor as well as for the MSP for their clientele, it makes billing easy. It makes everything easy, and anyone that has venture investment people behind them, they like it too because it's a steady stream, right? But moving away from that and just thinking about the technology side of it, oh my gosh, I don't think that on-premise firewalls are going to go away. So I treat this as a hybrid solution, meaning I think it's going to be both. And the reason I do is that it makes perfect sense. I mean, it's a great solution because the firewall only works for the employees sitting at the desk inside the office. The moment they pick up their laptop and they hit the road, all bets are off because they're no longer behind the company firewall. And that's always been a challenge. And so I think it's smart to turn around and take that firewall solution and throw it in the cloud. And that way, regardless of where you go, you have that protection layer, which is critical. And obviously, because it's your business and it's cloud-based, you're going to be able to have rules and you're going to be able to check if a mobile device has been infected before you let it onto the corporate asset resources. So I like it, all of that stuff. And so for all of that, it's a home run. Where the on-site firewall still comes in is the fact that you have a DMZ, you might have a web server, you might have an FTP server, and that firewall is protecting those local things, and you're plugging network pieces in, and I haven't seen how that part's going to work in the cloud yet. So I'm really thinking the cloud part is really for the mobile users and their remote secure connectivity and keeping them safe, more than it's really dealing with the on-premise gear that a lot of companies still have. So I think you're going to have both, and as long as they talk together, totally rocks.
Yeah. So what it sounds like you're saying is that something like this makes sense for people, right? So if you're a computer user as a human being, because I am very different from this IOSafe NAS server that I have over here, right? This isn't a user. It's just going to sit here locally in this network all the time. It's not going to get up, walk away, and go to Starbucks, right? Or I could. I'm a human being. So something like a cloud-based, putting the people under a cloud-based firewall that protects them holistically wherever they are, and paying for that, and the way that's billed makes sense. But not for this NAS box or this switch or this web server or this machine or like this X-ray machine or this printer. That should all be kind of living behind a local firewall appliance because you don't want to pay per user for those things.
What you just said. Okay,
so Dave, we've discovered something interesting today. I have a brain that works.
and I readily agreed.
It's amazing. Normally I don't always get this stuff right. So you do now. What if they came and said, well, you don't have to have the local firewall. You can have one big firewall up in the cloud, and we'll bill you for people. But you can still plug in. I don't know how you would plug those devices into this though. Like how would you plug a printer into the cloud firewall? How would that work?
Yeah, I equate it to servers in a funny way. And that is, I know there's a big push for cloud servers. I totally get it. I believe in it. But just as that is true, it's equally true that there is still physical servers on site. They haven't all vaporized. They haven't all gone away, despite popular belief.
Well, and they're changing too, Dave. And we've been talking about a lot at the SMB Forum events. On-site servers is coming back. It's just they're taking a different form, and a different function, a lot more edge serving and edge processing, because that's the most efficient way to get usable data from IoT and from other things up into the cloud, because you don't want to process all that up in the cloud. You want actionable data. So I agree, servers aren't going away, and therefore probably the on-site firewall isn't going away either.
Totally agree. For the same point you already said, and that is, it makes, I loved your analogy really fast. Cloud firewalls are really for users, people, and on-premise firewalls are really for devices, physical devices that are on-prem. And I think we're going to have a need for both of them for quite a long time. But I love the hybrid model. We all struggled with, I'm on a tangent, with Active Directory and Azure Active Directory, and the fact that the two didn't really for a while talk to each other. They kind of ran as two worlds, and unfortunately probably this will be the same way, meaning for a little while the on-prem firewall and the cloud firewall will kind of be two separate worlds, but the faster, quicker that they get them unified talking to each other, I think the adoption's just going to shoot right up. Because that's the pain point, right?
Right. So let's contrast this then with the WatchGuard story, because they're addressing the same problem. The people out of the network are more vulnerable than when they're in the network. Which approach do you think will ultimately win out? Right.
Well, it's not a question of win out, because they're two different services. But I'll tell you that the WatchGuard DNS is way easier to implement. Because DNS is all internet resolving, right? So you don't have that same gear on site that you're trying to deal with on the cloud firewalls at all. They're totally two different things. I get they're both security related, but they're totally two different things. So I think the DNS is the one that is much easier to implement. I can literally implement that overnight. I just update everybody's DNS, point them over here instead of over there, and it starts to work. And when they pick up their laptops and hit the road, it just keeps on working, right? So I think that the DNS2Go or DNSWatchGo, the WatchGuard that's going to be a fast implementation. That's really cool. I think that likewise, what's happening on the Avast side, it's exciting, but I think it's going to take longer because it's a little bit more involved.
And probably more expensive too. I don't see pricing included here in this Avast release, but I know the DNSGo is like $3.25 a user per month, which is a very low cost. And a completely cloud integrated firewall is probably going to cost more than that, I think, right?
More.
Yeah, more. It will be much more. Open your wallets, people. So good. Okay, I like it. So both kind of seem like they have a purpose and a need, and maybe we'll look at Avast here and saying, this cloud firewall, having your network in the cloud might make sense, but it's not an overnight thing, and it may not make sense in all situations. Whereas right now, if you have a mobile workforce and you want to get them some protection from threats when they're not residing behind your secure firewall, this is something that is low cost, easy to integrate. And
I treat it as an add, not a replacement. Versus the DNS is really a replacement.
Yep. So if you went cloud firewall, though, would you need something like DNSWatchGo? Would that still be would that add make sense? Because it's probably not, right?
I don't know. It depends on if they included that feature or not.
Okay. Got it. Very cool. We got links to both of these stories. You can go check them out. There's links to the product pages for each of these new services. So take a look at them. And I think the DNS one is probably an easy one to roll in as an add-on to your to any portfolio or service bundle that you're currently offering. And probably, as Dave said, very, very easy to implement. And maybe start thinking about the whole cloud firewall thing and which customers that might make sense for and how you might structure stuff in the future. I love it. Good conversation, Dave. Very, very interesting stuff. Last story is not about security, which is, because that seems like all we talk about right now.
That's a shocker. Everything's security.
Although it is, this is security related, though. It's like to prevent problems if you do have security issues. But we're talking about some Buffalo NAS storage options. And I love the Buffalo NAS line. It's great hardware. It's very competitively priced. They rolled out a new management tool. It's super easy to manage. You can manage all of them now. Any deployment you have anywhere, you can manage them all in one interface. Super nice stuff. But they introduced a new TerraStation 6000 family that has built-in snapshotting technology. Now, Dave, you know a lot about snapshotting technology, so why don't you tell us about this story?
You know, for starters, like you kind of said, the TerraStation line family, especially the 6000, it's been around for a while. It's got a good proven record, so works. And but the challenge is ransomware. I mean, it's what it's really about, right? And ransomware, because files get encrypted, and then you got to pay to get them unencrypted. And we always thought that our backups were our safe haven. As long as we had backups, we were good. The only problem with that is that, like anything else, security always seems to creep in and bite us. SMB, if not small, medium business, but SMB is in the protocol. A lot of these NAS backup devices talk to things by SMB. Well, my gosh, SMB, shocker, had a security flaw. And hence things started to get deleted on backups. So this is fantastic. This is like where they needed to go, and they did it. And that is to protect the backups so that when something does get through, you still have your backups. Because if you don't have your backups, well, you have to have your backups, right? And
Yes.
And unfortunately, we started, last year and a half, start hearing the horror stories on. I thought I had my backups, but those files were encrypted too. So to add that new technology in, and sure, there's a couple players in the market. I already have that in place. But again, if you have an investment in Buffalo and you have an investment in the series, this is a great ad, because you don't want to trade out what you already have. You just want it to work. And this was a really needed add-on. So great for the family ad.
Yeah. So what it does is it gives you the ability to lock your snapshots, your data backups, transfer those backups from one device to another. It also maintains a second copy of the NAS's operating system in flash memory in case the unit, the hard drive is unavailable. So you can still boot the damn thing, even if that hard disk gets encrypted or whatever, or fries or whatever happens. VMware certified, and and the 6000 series of all kinds of form factors and storage capacities and stuff like that. So you can go and look at those. But yeah, I think this is an obvious one.
And I'll add one more thing that's really cool, and that is a lot of vendors have this focus about cloud backup, which is awesome. But what the TerraStations let you do is when you have a client that has more than one physical location, you can drop one unit in one location, one unit in another physically different location, sync them back and forth, and that way if something happens on one site, you got the other site, and you don't have the cost of cloud backup, but yet you have pseudo cloud. I mean, the whole idea of cloud was to get it off your premise.
Right.
And by having a secondary location, in essence, you get the same thing, but you don't pay the monthly cloud storage. So good solution.
Well, yeah, and think about a lot of customers who have incredibly high data needs, right? Those are incredibly expensive to back up in the cloud. So stuff like this makes absolute sense. And if you can make it easy to sync locations or just get it off premise, that's all you need. You just need one copy of the data, one copy of the data off premise.
Totally.
And you're good.
And as you shared with everybody, I have an MSP business, and I say that so that when I say one of our clients has over 20 terabytes of data on NASs, and can you imagine the price tag of storing all that cloud-based?
Oh my God, no, it costs a fortune.
Right. So not everybody has.
And it's slow. And this is what people forget about the cloud too. The cloud is great. The cloud has lots of good purpose. It is not an efficient medium to transmit 20 terabytes of data over the internet, right?
No. And try to recover. I mean, seriously, when you're trying to recover a massive amount of data, it's just not your friend. And thank goodness some vendors have offered this service where they'll quote FedEx you a drive, and you pay for that. Right. But a lot of people don't look into it, and when disaster hits and they have to pull back their data, now they realize how slow the download is.
Yeah, oh yeah. I would always keep something local to handle recovery for those situations. And then so that way you don't have to go to your off-premise one, because that's a lot of data to move around. Unless your client has incredibly small data needs, like they're only totaling 500 gigabytes of data. Well, then you can put them in the cloud, because that's not that big of a deal.
It's great for office files, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, whatever. But the moment that you start really dealing with large volumes of data, not so good.
Yeah, and Buffalo's also saying that it's very quick. Like it says, recovering from snapshot is fast. You can revert the whole array back to a point in time more or less instantly. So that's pretty cool.
Hence, it's on site. Yep. And because you're locking your backups, those horrible, terrible people. We talked about him on our last show. Have you ever met the kind of guy who encrypts people's stuff with ransomware? Do you know who that is? You ever met him? His name is Nefarious A. Hole, is his name. Is that one of those things where you wake up later and you get it? No, I think it happened pretty instant.
Yeah, that's his name. We talked about him on the last show. In fact, the last show title, episode 118, that was the show titles for that show, was Nefarious A. Hole.
That's great.
And that's what we're talking. All of this stuff that is all security, all to protect you from that horrible, horrible person that we just mentioned.
And I'll tell you a funny stat that I heard at another conference a few months ago, and that is none of this is going to go away. And it's not going to go away because the ratio is 3-to-1. And what I mean by that is that for every $1 that our industry spends trying to circumvent, protect, fight off, etc., 3x is being made in profit by all of the entities out there that are hacking. So the point is, it's a profitable business model. They're making a lot of money. And because they're making a lot of money, they're going to continue to do it. And we don't invest as much as they make. So, as a bad analogy, it's like the oil tanker that should have a double wall tank shipper. And then when it gets a hole and it bleeds out oil and they get fined, the fine is a fraction of what it would have cost to have the double wall tanker. So when it happens, they'll pay the fine. And in a stupid way, we kind of live in a similar, paradigm here, that a lot of people are like, it costs too much to really do security right. When something happens, I'll just pay. So
another analogy is like Hollywood. They will continue to make a sequel to a movie as long as the last one made money. So, so expect, Toy Story 74, because they cannot help themselves.
If we live that long. Somebody will. It's like Friday the 13th, isn't it? Like number 21 by now.
Yeah, there's tons of them. So it doesn't even matter if the movie wasn't that very good. As long as people continue to see it, they will make more of them. Even though they should stop, they need self-control.
Yep. So the bottom line is find the right products and solutions, because you're going to need them. It's not going to go away.
Well said, sir. All right. Well, that kind of covers the news. We don't have any more stories to go through this week. I do know that we've got some stuff that hit the site, and we'll talk about some more next week. Because I know Miss Colleen Fry was out on the road at the Continuum Showcase. We have some stuff in here from that. But we'll talk about that next week. And of course, Rich is on the road right now. I'm trying to remember where he is. Dave, what show is happening this week? Do you remember?
I know Navigate is coming up.
Yeah, let me see.
But that's not yet. MSP World is coming up, but that's not yet.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can figure out where Rich is. He is at Cynics Inspire.
There you go.
Right now. So I'm sure he will have Lots of stuff to talk about from Synnex next week. But we do have...
Synnex keeps announcing more cloud solution add-ons. So I'm sure when he comes back with the update, it's going to have lots of cloud in it. So
yeah, Synnex has been very cloud and very IoT focused lately. So I'm sure we'll have lots of new and interesting things to discuss there. But we do have an article that we're going to talk about by one Josh Peterson. I know you know Mr. Peterson, right?
Absolutely. Josh rocks. Yep. Known Josh for a lot of years.
He does. He's a very, very nice, smart guy. So what he is saying here is that you can crack the sales code with business technology assessments. So he kind of starts his article off, and we'll put a link to it in the show notes and the video description for you to go read it, because I don't want to. There's a lot here to kind of digest, and we'll kind of talk about it at a high level. What he's saying is that in general, MSPs do not have great sales models or sales teams, sales infrastructure. But what they're those who are trying to work their way into managed businesses or managed services is they're finding salespeople are having a difficult time grasping that concept and selling that concept rather than having like tangible gateway kind of products to sell. So he talks about some theories that why that happens and how it's difficult to get employees and salespeople onboarded. So he's saying that by using BTAs, business technology assessments, it can be a value differentiator for you and demonstrate value for your salespeople to prospective buyers that they can digest. So Dave, I'm sure very familiar with BTAs. For those who aren't, and I'm sure there's probably some listening who aren't, what is a BTA? How do you sell with that approach?
Sure. You know, the first thing is Josh is right on that. Oh my gosh, solution providers, MSPs, sales, that sucks. And there's no good way to say it. They're technology people. You knew technology and you said, hey, I can do that, meaning a business. So you start a business and you grow it. But the thing that you learned was tech, and you did not learn sales or marketing. And so that's why, the different folks that are out there have these sales boot camps or marketing boot camps, and they aim it at technologists because they know that's the weakness. And the very first thing is that you want to raise your what I call business acumen, meaning you don't want to go in with nuts and bolts. You don't want to go in with speeds and feeds, because our clients are business owners. They think business. And to walk in with, I can, lock this port and I can shut down this service and I can, it's like, what? You're just speaking another language. And that may be your language and I get it, but it's not your client's language. The second part of it is that, I think about going to a dentist. I know it's a funny analogy, but it really fits. Can you imagine going to your dentist and you don't tell your dentist what's wrong? Hey, dentist, this tooth right here hurts. Instead, you go in, you go, dentist, what do you do? And the dentist goes, well, I do fillings and cavities and help with smiles and whiter teeth. And, we team with somebody that if your jaw's too long, too short, and they go through this roster of things that I could care less about because I don't have any of those conditions. And I think a lot of solution providers are the same way. They want to go to their client. They want to tell them all the stuff they do, just like the dentist going down this big list. Client doesn't care. The client cares about the problem they have. Hey, I got this tooth that hurts right here. So that's where the assessment comes in. That's where it's invaluable because it helps you understand what the need of the business is. What's the pain point? What are they trying to achieve? What's the outcome? Those are all the terms and the business language you should be doing. Not I can block this port, I can stop this particular virus, whatever. So
what you're saying is you should use ransomware to encrypt all their computers.
Exactly.
So you could go in and then say, I know what your problem is.
Oh my gosh, somebody's going to quote us on that.
I know. I'm kidding, everybody. I'm kidding.
They're going to omit that. They'll just use the little catchphrase. But anyway, So that's where Josh is right on. You need to assess what's really happening in the business. What are the pain points? What are the needs? What are the goals? Where is it trying to go? And then offer a solution that addresses that, not going down your line card of what you do. Because
right. Yeah. And so what Josh is saying in here, and I'm interested in your feedback on this. So he's saying that most people who put together a BTA would think, okay, I got the customer to let me come in and put an agent on their network to investigate and to check their firewall and their Office 365 and ask some generic questions. But he's saying that it needs to be more than that. It needs to be, you need to be looking at their experiences, their job roles, their processes, unique things that they do, big security exploration, things that a technology person may not be able to evaluate. So if you can't evaluate that, how are you supposed to put together a BTA at that level?
Yeah, and I'm going to give a plug. Someone I respect what they have to say. If you know Paul Dipple, he's been in our industry for quite some time. And Paul has this thing that he talks about called OML, operational maturity level, I think it is. And, this comes down to the OML level of the partner, the solution provider, meaning where's their business acumen? Where are they? Where are they comfortable talking? Where are they comfortable when they do an assessment, trying to stay out of the weeds of the nuts and the bolts and the ports and the speeds and the feeds, and instead talk to the business owner. And part of their ability to do that is where their OML is. And I kind of took what Paul shares about, a partner's OML, and we actually apply a client OML. So we actually do a bit of a math, so to speak, and we determine for every client what their OML is. And that helps you know what kind of conversation to have with the client. Because if they're not, business savvy on certain things, or imagine this, imagine a partner that's an OML 3, the scale's 1 to 5, and you have a client that's an OML 4, in a way, you're politely put a little out of your league or not up to where your client is. And therefore, it might be harder for you to have those conversations. On the other hand, if you kind of get yourself ramped up, kind of like you do with technology, and the provider is an OML 4 and your client's an OML 3, you're a little bit ahead of the game, and you can walk in the door and be more that strategic advisor and help them and pull them up with you. So I think it's important to know where you're at. It's important to know where your client's at, and then you can strategically do that assessment even better. And get away from nuts and bolts, speeds and feeds. So,
yeah, I 100% agree, and that's a good way of putting it. He also says in here another interesting, and I think it kind of goes along with what you're talking about with this maturity level and operational maturity level. But we traditionally think of like talking about transforming businesses into MSPs, and we're already looking at the next evolution of MSPs. Right. So it's not just enough to say, okay, you were a break fix shop where, like you said with the dentist, somebody walks in off the street and says, hey, my tooth hurts, or my tooth is broken, right, or chipped or whatever, fix my tooth, which is what the typical break fix model would be for computers. Hey, my computer is broken. Can you fix it? Well, it's managed services, but now it's going beyond that. And it says, and what he says here is that MSPs must evolve from technology experts to management consultants in the coming years. And techs must become analysts, account managers must become business prospects experts, and owners must begin reimagining their services beyond devices and permissions. That's a bold vision and a massive transformation for someone who may just be a tech person.
Totally agree. And that's why I brought up the whole OML. That's really what he's talking about. It's the maturity of your business model. It's the maturity of your business. Where is it at? And what services does it deliver?
I see it a little bit more beyond that. It's not just the maturity level, but it's recognizing that an MSP can't just be a company that understands technology. And we're hearing about this in other things. We're hearing a lot about vertical expertise, right? So if you're an MSP selling to medicine's an easy one to use. So medical things, you need to know more about just technology. You need to know about the medical industry. You need to have some expertise in the things that the medical industry uses and the doctors' offices use, and their processes and how doctors think. That's a different thing than just maturity level.
Well, I agree, but I would say that verticals have been around for a long time, and it's you only can change so many things at once. So I think what you're saying is I agree with it, and I think it's still evolution. Meaning when they were break fix, it took them time to evolve to MSP, and now that they're MSP, it's going to take them time to continue to evolve, because you can't go from break fix to consultative overnight. You really do kind of need to go through that MSP model. And it's kind of hard to leapfrog over it. And it cracks me up when I do my show and I have a subject or speakers on that are MSP focused. It's like, why are you still talking MSP? That's so yesterday. No, it's not.
For a lot of these guys, it's tomorrow. They haven't even started that process yet.
Well, and even the ones that are MSP, let me tell you, there's so much growth in being a today's MSP. That there's so much to talk about, and if you're out there in the PE world, the VC world, MSP is the right place to be. So it's not yesterday's news at all. It really is today's news. It's just that you need to keep evolving it, like you said.
Yeah. Now the more important question is yesterday's news today tomorrow's news of yesterday's tomorrow?
Isn't that a James Bond movie?
That was Tomorrow Never Dies, I think, right?
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to add that to my Q&A for Dave Seibert. Favorite Bond flick. We're going to get to that in just a few minutes. Okay. That's good. We're going to put a link to this article in the show notes. Folks, go and read it. Think about what it has to say. And if you're currently an MSP or you're thinking about becoming an MSP, I think he's onto something here. And I think what it's saying is that you have to have a better understanding. You have to be able to walk into a business, or your salespeople need to be able to walk into a business and understand more about how to integrate technology solutions to solve common problems, but to be able to identify the problems and to understand that the business processes of other businesses as a mechanism to help you understand what to sell them and how to fix their problems and how to get them as a customer, because that will make you more valuable. I think that's what it's saying in a nutshell. I think Dave kind of agrees.
Yep.
I'm just going to say he agrees with me just because I like it when Dave agrees with me rather than when he doesn't. He's laughing. Good. So good story there. All right. So we're going to move on. We're going to do a quick mention because we're going to talk about this a little bit more next week when Rich is back. But on October 1st, the ChannelPro SMB All-Star Awards hit the website. If you're waiting for the paper magazine, you will get it. It will be in the October issue. You will see it. So, but if you want to see the award winners right now, go to channelpronetwork.com. And right now it's pinned on the front page, but search the All-Stars, you'll find it. So we have 19 All-Star Awards this year. So Dave, do you know anything about the All-Star Awards?
Absolutely. I read it each year. I love it. And keep going, but yes.
Yeah. So for those who are not familiar with the All-Stars, this is an awards program that we have. We have a couple different awards where we kind of not look at vendors and solutions. And one is called the Reader Choice Awards. And that's where our readers get to nominate and select their favorite vendors and favorite businesses in certain categories. Well, the All-Star Awards is a little bit different animal. This is where the editorial staff here at Channel Pro takes a look at companies, and we look for those who have done something impactful. And we're kind of open on what the word impactful is, but we look for businesses that have made an impact on the channel or channel resellers or on the technology industry within the last year. So it's a very, very interesting program in that regards, where we're not just necessarily saying, hey, we are giving, Microsoft an award because Microsoft is a great company, right? We look for we have to be able to point to something like they did this year, and this is why we are giving them accolades. So I believe we have 19 this year. Don't quote me on that. It might be 17 All-Star Awards, and we have 2 special new categories for the All-Stars this year, Dave. We added the ChannelPro SMB Not-for-Profit All-Star. And when you read that, you'll see kind of what we're going with that. We really do want to show some love to companies in this industry that do great outreach or do something charitable, or so for somebody who does benefits the community in an inspiring way. So we added that category, and we also added this year the ChannelPro SMB Lifetime Achievement All-Star. And we've awarded that to a particular CEO that is basically the founder of the MSP model. So we want to recognize a person this year. We've never recognized a person as part of these awards. So kind of breaking new ground here. So Dave, I'm sure you've looked through the list. Do you want to mention any that you particularly agreed with or didn't agree with? But we'll have Rich on next week. Yeah,
I don't want to steal Rich's thunder. I did peek at the list, and because you kind of made references to it, meaning the individual, which was first time this year, and it is an awesome pick. I did notice that it's Arnie Bellini, and what an incredible contributor, leader in our industry for 30 plus years. I mean, he's forged the path on a lot of things that have happened in our industry. So good, awesome pick.
Awesome. Yeah. So we fight about these. We like to joke that, when we go and pick these, we put a lot of time and energy and effort into really thinking about the All-Star Awards. We have long phone conversations and phone battles. We get out the Nerf bats and start beating each other over the head with them. No, they're usually very lively discussions.
I bet they are. And
we think about
when I saw who the pick was, I did a funny game in my head, and that is, I thought, oh my gosh, who are the runner-ups? Meaning, I immediately thought of some really great runner-ups. And my goal is not to say any names because I don't want to take away from Arnie. But my point is, what a great exercise to think about who runner-ups are, just to get an idea of who's who in our industry. So a lot of good folks out there doing good stuff.
Absolutely, and we'll run through all of the picks next week. But if there's a particular All-Star on the list you want to point out other than Arnie, you're more than welcome. But we also encourage our listeners and readers, and you, Dave, and we have some experts like you that I know chime in with some suggestions. But you are absolutely allowed to nominate somebody for the All-Stars. So we're already thinking about the 2020 All-Stars. I already got my list going, and I'm watching the news stories. I'm watching what happens in the industry, and I'm making notes as we go. And then if you want to nominate somebody, we have a form. We'll put a link. I have to make sure it's open for 2020 yet, but there will be a form that you can go to where you can nominate an All-Star. But you just got to remember that if you go to the form and you say, I want to nominate Dell, because Dell makes great computers. I mean, that's great. They do make great computers. They've made great computers for 20 years, right? They're a great company. We know. But that's not going to get them an All-Star. You have to say if they introduced this computer and it's a new thing and it's going to change my business and change the world, and that's a reason why. Or they made changes to their partner program that make it 3 times more profitable for me to sell computers and make more money, and that's impactful. That hits a lot of people. So it has to be something specific that you can point to that we can talk about and consider as we deliberate who will be the 2020 All-Stars. So 2019 All-Stars are up. We'll put a link to the All-Star Awards page, so you can go check and read through them, and then we'll have Rich kind of dive through some of the thinking behind some of these next week. Very cool stuff. All right. So, Dave, I want to be kind to your schedule and not take up too much more of your time. But I would like to play Q&A with Dave Seibert. 5 questions or so, just so we get to know a little bit more about you.
Oh my gosh.
I think for the next time you're going to be on, I want to solicit questions from listeners and from those who watch, so that way we can hit you with listener questions. So I am going to start off with the first Q&A question, and I alluded to it a minute ago. Favorite Bond movie? Go.
Oh my gosh. Moonraker. Now,
I love Moonraker. Okay, go. I want to hear your reasons.
Yeah, my reason is real simple. There's some other Bond movies. First of all, my favorite thing about Bond is the introductions. That's number one. I don't care which Bond movie it is. They were just ingenious on their introductions. The way they kind of start the movie out and then, slice, pause, do the intro, and then back into the movie again. And oh my gosh, they're just known in the whole industry. But Moonraker, because I have a fascination with space. I love space. And I think Moonraker is one of the very few James Bond movies that really had that space theme. And so that's why.
Yeah, it was. In fact, as far as I can recall, it was the only time Bond went to space. I agree. That would definitely be on certainly in my top 5. Maybe my first. I remember I probably watched that one more than any other Bond movie, I think, because that was my dad's favorite Bond movie growing up. So we would end up watching that one a lot.
Good old Roger Moore.
Yeah, good old Roger Moore. Yeah, absolutely. I remember that was also the one that has the scene where there's like the cable car and Jaws. You remember Jaws, the guy with like the big.
Oh, how can you not know Jaws?
Yes. I know, right? But it's the one where he like bites down on the cable and it like snaps this thick cable that's like like
right
2 inches thick or something like that. Just awesome stuff. So totally agree. Moonraker is a great pick. Okay, question 2. And for those who've listened to the last couple shows, we'll kind of laugh why I'm asking you this, but go back a couple episodes and we kind of had a little thing talking about this. Favorite way you like your eggs?
For humor's sake, I had no clue that this was even going to happen. Favorite eggs, omelets.
Any particular way? Any like cheese? What do you like in your omelets?
Denver omelet. I'm a ham and cheese lover, and I can never seem to get enough cheese. So bad for you. Leave me alone. I like my cheese. And but Denver omelet would probably be the way to go. I am not a sunny side up person. So bring me a Denver omelet.
So Dave, you know that I live like 10 minutes from the Wisconsin border. I can go north and get access to lots of delicious cheese all the time.
Well, there you go.
So if you are ever out here,
we're going to hook up in New York. So we have to do this barter thing where you have to bring me some cheese, and I'll have to figure out what I'm going to bring you.
I will bring you a brick of delicious Wisconsin cheese.
Awesome.
No problem at all. I just got to find one. I got to find a way to keep it cold. So I'll have to find a cheese that doesn't have to be refrigerated.
Dry ice. Actually, I think that cheese, I don't think it has to be refrigerated. A lot of times when you buy cheese, it's not refrigerated until you open it up. But
yeah, it depends on the kind of cheese.
Yeah, a hard cheese. Normally a hard cheese where you're going to slice it up. You're pretty safe. Yeah,
and it won't be a can of Cheese Whiz because that would just be wrong in all facets. All right, Dave, favorite sport.
Favorite sport.
Or I could say, if you played sports growing up, your favorite sport to play when you were a kid. Either one.
Yeah, no. So baseball would probably be my pick, and I enjoy baseball. And growing up as a kid, Cincinnati Reds were my team, and so I watched the Reds and watched their stadium be built and watched them go. What was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to say, but that's the first time for over an hour. That will happen again. But anyway, no, I had the chance to watch Reds go to World Series more than once, and incredible team, and the big red fighting machine, as the expression goes. So like baseball. It's kind of boring to go to the stadium. I know that's a contradiction. It's great when you watch it on TV because you get all the instant replays and zooms in, zooms out.
Yeah, baseball is, unless you're close, baseball is one of those. Actually, and you know what's funny? Most sports are actually better on TV. They are. Think about golf. If you're stuck on hole number 3, I mean, after hole 3 goes by, it gets kind of boring for a long time. And but it's exciting on TV because you're right there at every hole, right? So I think a lot of sports are better on TV. But. Yeah, I'm a big hockey fan. So hockey is one of those sports that
is it the fast action or the fact that you like to watch everybody get slammed into the wall?
I like it because it's fast. It's fast action. There's not a lot of breaks. Like once it gets going, it's usually going, and there's icing calls and there's stuff, but like the game progresses. It's not a lot of standing around waiting for things to happen.
It's a fast game.
It's a very fast game. It's a brutal game. It's almost like it's one of the few sports that I think I almost like it better live than on TV. Because on TV you don't get a sense of that speed and all of the constant like line changes and all of the things that kind of go in. It's just a game with so little break. Like if there was no penalties or no icing, like you could run an entire period nonstop. Those guys are constantly moving.
Or the roar of the crowd. Or, of course, the food. Can't forget the food.
Can't forget the food. Yeah, so hockey's a good one. All right, question number 4. Of the places that you've traveled, and you've traveled quite a bit, what would be your favorite place that you visited so far?
Are you referring to geography or events?
I would let's go city or a place, not necessarily an event, but a favorite place.
Oh my gosh. 2 different places for totally 2 different reasons. The first one is I love woods, hills. So anytime that you go to something like Smoky Mountains, I mean, that's just if I had my alter ego life, so to speak, I would live in a log cabin in the woods with my high-speed gigabit internet fed underneath the ground, right? Because I got to have my internet. But aside from that, it would be some generator with a wheel with the water going, self-maintained, right? And just in the hills. So I love mountains, change of seasons. So anything Smoky Mountain related. And then ironically, to flip a total 180, I'm a big Las Vegas fan. Meaning there's always something to do. There's always something to see. There's always something shiny, glittery. It's a nonstop, doesn't go to sleep city. A lot of fun there. I try to, people go, oh, there's bad stuff there too. Well, in the Smoky Mountains, bad things eat you. And so wherever you go.
Hey, Dave, in Las Vegas, bad things eat you there too.
I get it. So I try to look at the good side. So Smoky Mountains on one side and Vegas on the other side. I love them both, and for totally different reasons.
Yeah, just Smoky Mountains, bad things eat your body. In Las Vegas, bad things eat your money.
and we'll jump really fast over to events. It used to be my answer, hands down, would have been Comdex, if anybody remembers Comdex. And I had a great living dealing with Comdex, and I actually attended 26 Comdex shows.
Wow,
which,
that's a lot.
Is almost all of them, starting in 1979 until whatever it was, 93, give or take, the very last show.
You know what's funny, Dave? There was probably a long time ago. Did you ever go to any of the Comdexes in McCormick Place in Chicago?
Atlanta.
Oh, in Atlanta. Okay.
I went to the Comdex in Atlanta.
Okay.
But otherwise, I made every show in Vegas.
Okay. All right, cool.
And Comdex was the place. If you were in our technology industry, that's where everybody who was anybody went. And what a great education, what a great resource. And fast forward today, the closest equivalent you get is CES. And I don't even know, I think I'm a 20-year CES person. And it's not all consumer, because a lot of people that don't have another show to go to CES. And so there's a lot of business that happens there. And matter of fact, they even carved out a whole hall. It used to be when you went to Comdex, they took over everything, the hotels, everything. And CES is pretty close to it with 250,000 people. It's a runner-up. And so we have a lot of local, vertical specific events that I go to that I really like. But on a global, bigger sense, those are like the two giants. CES
is a spectacle unlike any other.
It is.
So if you've never been to a CES, I would say go to at least one. I try to avoid them now personally. Although that might actually change. It's a show where you are going to have to start covering, because it has evolved so much past consumer. That there's a lot of relevant stuff that like we would need to cover now. But what I was going to say really fast is, if you've never been to CES, don't go and become a magnet of mobile phone cases or speakers, or as in audio speakers, or cars, meaning, because all you're going to do is convince yourself why you shouldn't go back. Instead, take a look at it and look at all the business side that it has to offer. Go see that first. Yep.
And then if you have extra time, go see the fun personal stuff. But by seeing the business stuff first, you'll understand why you need to go back.
Right. Yep. Agreed. And wear comfortable shoes.
Socks, 2 pairs of socks.
Yeah. So support your feet, because your feet will be aching by the time it's over, especially if you're there for multiple days.
Yeah.
I say that from experience. All right. Question number 5, Dave, and then we'll move on to your museum pick. So question number 5, if there is any single piece of advice you could give to our listeners, some simple advice or suggestion to improve their business or make them more successful, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, I actually have an answer for this, because this is ironic, but so there's an organization. I give a plug. It's good. It's called IAMCP, and International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners. And I've been blessed to be part of the largest chapter in the world for them. And I've been on the board there for the 10 years it's been around. But that's not my answer. My answer is that I was actually asked, there's a celebration coming up, a 10th anniversary for our chapter. And I was actually asked if I would write a quick thank you, and they asked me the same darn question. And therefore, I actually have an answer. And that is, I really do believe in our industry, there's a book called The Go-Giver. And the model behind the Go-Giver is really simple, and that is reach out and help someone. And it's kind of a karma thing. When you help someone, they're going to help you. And there's this kind of a secondary thing. They go hand in hand, and that is people like you first, then your company, and then your solution. So, our industry has a lot of room for growth. It's not overly crowded to the point that we can't help each other. So my advice is reach out and help your fellow, technologist, solution provider. And it's amazing when you reach out and help someone, you're helping their business, but they're going to turn around and they're going to help your business. And that's one of the reasons I do peer groups. Because I purposely want to put together partners that want to help each other grow their businesses. Because again, it's my passion. It's what I love to do. And to watch each other help us succeed together is really exciting. And so that's my thing. That's my one thing is if you haven't got involved, if you haven't reached out and helped someone in our industry to do better, and then experience them helping you. And that bleeds many colors. Everything from a project. I get all kinds of projects from other states, from partners that I met that need something done in California, and maybe they're in Dallas or somewhere else. They don't want to jump on an airplane. They just want to know that they can trust someone to get the job done locally. So a lot of things come back, but it all starts from helping someone. So reach out and help somebody.
Great advice. I love it. I love it. Definitely get involved, network, help other people, and it will help you. Excuse me. So, very good. I enjoyed our 5 questions with Dave Seibert. Very great segment. And if we ever have you back on, maybe we'll do it again with 5 different questions. You never know where I'm going to go, Dave.
You never know.
You never know. All right. So we do have a museum pick this week. And one of the things I love about having Dave Seibert on is that Dave also kind of has an affinity for old hardware and old technology. And has actually quite a bit of it. So normally I do the museum pick because I have my hoarding technology disease that has me collecting all of this stuff from over the years. But we don't have to dive into my collection today. We will dive into Dave's. And Dave has a very cool museum pick. Dave, tell us about it.
So, first I'll say some humor. If we were both in cars, we'd probably have all these antique cars in our backyard, and our significant others would hate us for it because, we would look like this junkyard collection. The thing I love about technology is most of it's pretty small. And therefore the ability to hang on some things and put them inside a tub, like those storage crates, is pretty easy. So one of my fun things, if you're on video, I kind of held it up, but I'll tell you what it is. It's an Apple II motherboard. And boy, this thing has history in some fun and really bad ways. And this Apple II motherboard goes back to 1979, 1980, 81, 82. And sure, you go, oh, whatever, it's a motherboard. Let me tell you, this pioneered a lot of businesses. And it pioneered a lot of businesses. And there's a lot of pain with this, too. The boards came with no memory on them. And there's 24 slots to insert memory. And each slot had a chip, and the memory chips have 16 legs. Pin from hell legs that are really sharp as needles, and you put them in with your fingers. And anybody who says, they had a tool for that, you've never done it, because they came in tubes. The memory did, and the tubes were shaped that the legs kind of spread out. So the tool only works if the legs were straight, and hence you kind of had to take your fingers and bend the legs as you pushed them in. And so it took some pressure, and do that 24 times, literally a couple hundred computer sales in a month, and you ended up with a lot of holes in your fingers. And oh my gosh, the pain of it all. But also, this, like I said, this really pioneered when computers went into businesses originally. And my gosh, you're talking about 48K of memory. So when programmers today say, there's not enough memory for me to write my app, I'm sorry, I'm just humored, because it's amazing what programmers did with 48K of total memory. It held everything.
Yeah. And
totally awesome. It's also how I learned CPM. On an Apple II, they had a Z80 board, and you could put a Z80 board in. And all of a sudden, your Apple II became a CPM machine. And CPM did a lot of great things for us. People that know WordStar, people that know DBase, things of that nature. And really, really cool stuff. And a little piece of trivia for you, one last thing is, if you ever wonder how far back Apple and Microsoft go, so when you go back to the earliest days on the Apple side, they had what was called 6502 Basic. But 6502 Basic only did integer. It didn't even do floating point. So when they added an Apple Drive for the first time, because my first Apple II used a cassette recorder, when they added an Apple II Drive, it wasn't, the Basic wouldn't handle it. So they went to Microsoft, and Microsoft had 6502 Basic that had floating point, and hence good old Bill Gates and Apple did business back then. And that became the Apple Basic that came from Microsoft. So a lot of history between those companies.
Yeah, but I remember before we started, you pointed out that the back of that board has all of the solder points, and they're thick and they're like razor sharp. And we commented that like you could like use that as sandpaper or
totally.
grate cheese on it.
Grate cheese off of it, and it's literally a one-side board. And the back side of it is where all the ICs physically went through and they soldered it. And if you've ever looked at a breadboard, which was the technology that all of this soldering got done on, that solder would drip and dry. Those things are like nails. I mean, they're like needles. And you can take yourself out with the back side of a board. I mean, it should be registered as a weapon.
So, Dave, the cost of the Apple II with the maximum 48 kilobytes of RAM was, do you know how much?
$1,200.
Close. Or at least according to the great Wikipedia, when first launched, it says that it was $1,200 with 4 kilobytes of RAM.
Okay.
With the maximum amount of RAM, $2,638 in 1977 monies. So that's a lot of bread for a computer. That is a lot of bread. Yeah, crazy. And now, does your board that you have, does that have the MOS technology 6502 processor on it?
It does, actually. And believe it or not, it still works. This is, once again, if we were car mechanics, we'd have a whole bunch of cars. And I actually have a couple of these motherboards, and one's inside a system. And you think, why the heck did you ever hang on to that thing? And number one, because I can. Right. And number two is if you ever knew Electronic Duet, which was a program that played synthesized music. And if you didn't know, Apple got its break into the industry because of music. That was its thing. So they actually have one of the most sophisticated at the time music synthesizer chips on the motherboard. It was great at music, and you can plug in a MIDI device and control it. And you get me excited here, but anyway, they had Electronic Duet that played Mozart and all kinds of things in electronic, and it was a fun reason to keep it around.
Absolutely, I love old stuff like that. That particular microprocessor, for those who are interested, ran at 1.023 megahertz. 1 megahertz. I think I think there are calculators that are in kids' pockets that are significantly faster than that.
Oh, totally. I on a funny note, I saw a Dell Expo where they were talking about their latest servers with persistent memory. And oh my gosh, if you have not read about persistent memory, point being is how technology continues to advance and how exciting it is and why we all do this crazy stuff.
Yeah, in fact, going into the All-Stars, I believe Intel had won an All-Star award this year for their work in Optane DC persistent memory, which is a big deal because, oh my gosh, you can outfit a server now with, 48 terabytes of what it looks like memory.
Seriously.
It's a little slower, but I mean, fast. And
seriously,
that much stuff in RAM at once it opens up all kinds of new possibilities.
Totally. And again, it's amazing the way technology continues to evolve and advance, and it's really exciting at the same time. And to think that back, what was 79, 80, so that'd be 20, 30, almost 40 years ago, give or take. Businesses ran off of these things. Pascal, everybody remember Pascal? And so, you wrote some great business apps. Oh my gosh, VisiCalc, SuperCalc, spreadsheets, Lotus 123. So spreadsheets ran on this thing. And those spreadsheets are actually quite powerful. So
that's crazy. All right, so that is our museum pick. A great one, the Apple II motherboard. I do not have I don't have a lot of Apple stuff. I was never really an Apple person. So all I have is I have one little Apple iMac. So was it the little Mac, the little Macs, the puck things? Whatever one of those were.
Yeah.
What was that called? I can't remember. Mac Mini. Mac Mini.
Oh, the Mac Mini. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep. I like the first Mac Mini with an Intel processor, whichever one that was.
I actually worked at a Computerland national franchise when the first Apple II showed up, and when the first Lisa computer showed up, the first Mac, the first Fat Mac. Oh my gosh. Lots of history.
Lots, definitely lots. So that is going to lead us into our tech pick. Now, I like to often kind of do a that was then, this is now kind of thing.
Yep.
And so I'm cheating a little bit here because I normally only do tech picks of products that are available, like right now. I don't normally do future products. But it's announced. They didn't give a specific date, but it is coming. So I'm going to cheat and say that my tech pick is the new Mac Pro. To kind of go along with your old original Apple II motherboard.
Nice.
So I will say the new Mac Pro does look quite impressive. It is not shaped like a trash can, which is already a win in my book. But it's looks like it's gonna be a monster of a machine. Available, it's a Intel Xeon W based processor, available from anywhere between 8 and 28 cores. Up to 1.5 terabytes of DDR4 memory. I assume you could probably swap in for Optane, not through Apple, but if you wanted more memory, I don't see why you couldn't put that in. Options for two MPX modules with up to 4 GPUs. So they're going to like stacking graphics cards in these modules. You can get them with AMD Radeon Pro 580Xs or Radeon Pro Vega 2s, Pro Vega 2 Duo if you want to get 4 GPUs. 1.4 kilowatts power supply, 8 PCI Express slots, all Afterburner ProRes RAW accelerator card. Accelerates ProRes and ProRes RAW codecs and Final Cut QuickTime Player. Oh, that's interesting. Lots of SSD storage solutions, and it looks, of course, like a very, very nice product. It's silver, and it's got a really cool case that slides up and neat stuff. It looks very, very good. What do you think of the new Mac Pro, Dave?
I love the Apple products. I really do. And back in the early 90s, I had the privilege of having every day of my work life having a Mac on the left and a Windows computer on the right. And meaning I got to use each one every day. And not so much now, meaning most of what I do is Windows based. But no, they're awesome. The technology, fabulous. The way they keep enhancing and building it. My only pet peeve is a funny one, and that is people will go out and buy a Mac and spend $3,500 and not think too much about it. And then they turn around and they buy a Windows computer and they spend $800. And then they go, oh, that Mac is so much better. Well, my gosh, if you went out and bought a Windows-based computer and spent $3,500, it would kick ass too.
Yeah, it would be pretty nice. You get one of those really nicely specced out like X1 Carbons. That's right. A nice laptop.
Yep. I mean, come on. What'd you say? 8 to 28 cores, 4 GPUs. I mean, come on. Put that in a Windows machine, and you're going to watch it scream.
Oh yeah, for sure. Apple definitely has a flair for design. This is a very attractive computer with lots
Hands
of
down.
really interesting cooling, 3 impellers, and it's very decorative front, all metal. It's really nice. But I agree. Like,
Right.
you spend a lot of money on a Mac. To get a Mac, you're going to spend a lot of money. That's just the way it is. But if you spend a lot of money on a PC, you'll get a great PC as well.
Yep.
But this is a nice looking workstation. So definitely, and I'm glad they didn't make it round, because
I'm with you.
I was not a big fan of the
Fabulous.
trash can Mac Pros.
Fabulous technology. It really is.
Yeah, very cool. So go and check that out. It says that these are going to ship this autumn. They didn't give a particular exact date. At least I didn't see an exact date as of when we recorded this. But this autumn, so it'll be somewhere between now and November.
Right.
You'll see it become available. So real nice looking. Go check that out and give it a look. All right. Well, Dave, that is going to kind of lead us to the end of ChannelPro Weekly. We do want to take a few minutes because you have an event coming up. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, I appreciate that, Matt. I'm going to share 2 web addresses with you really fast. The first one is I do a quarterly conference event called SMB Tech Fest, and you can learn more about it at www.smbtechfest.com. And I'm excited. It's my way of pulling together our technology community of solution providers and the solutions that are out there. And I always have 20 plus speakers on security and how to make more money in our industry, how to better run your practice. And there's no exception to this event coming up, Q4, last show of the year, on October 17th. And we have a healthcare CIO from Memorial Care that's going to be keynote talking about our industry and how it's changing. We have a CISO security panel that's going to be talking about the threats and what you really need to know to handle security. We have multiple marketing and sales presenters. So always fresh content, always exciting. You should definitely check it out. And then the second thing is, if you kind of want to know what I'm up to, some of the hats that I wear, I have my own webpage, DaveSeibert.com, and you can kind of peek at that and get an idea of some of the, as I mentioned, like being a Microsoft MVP, part of the Gartner research group, and other activities, and you can kind of peek there and see what I'm up to and where my passions are and what I like to do.
Well, awesome. Fantastic. You said, just so everybody heard, October 17th, and where is your show? Southern
California. And just a little piece of trivia, Southern California has more solution providers than anywhere in the United States. Beats out New York, Chicago, Atlanta, everybody. And that's why so many events happen here. And I'm just happen to be blessed to be here. And so I kind of put those two together, and works out well that way. And that's why you often find our event, the ChannelPro SMB Forum. We definitely hit Southern California at least every other year, sometimes even more often than that. In fact, you will be able to see us in Southern California next year. We will be in the City of Industry, right outside of Los Angeles, on November 5th next year. So 1 year, a little more than 1 year from today, we will be back. That is awesome. Yep. And I know that this year it was ChannelPro Forum was in San Jose. We did San Jose. We went up to the Bay Area. It's been a couple of years since we'd been up there. That was also a great show. We tend to kind of bounce back and forth just so we can kind of hit both major areas of California. But mark your calendars, folks, because if you are in the Newark area, just right out anywhere really in the New York metropolitan area, that's what we call it, the New York Metro Show, because there's lots of people in a very, very compact space. November 6th, 2019, we will be in Newark at the DoubleTree by Hilton Newark Airport Hotel for the final ChannelPro SMB Forum event. I will be there. Rich Freeman will be there. Dave Seibert will be there. And lots of other big experts
It's a great day of content, invaluable stuff. We have a cram day full of need to know information, and Dave will tell you that the ChannelPro team strives hard to make the events not only informative and a great use of your time, but also fun.
Absolutely. You know, I can't say enough good words. Michael Segan. Oh my gosh, Joel Z, Matt, Rich, Freeman. You guys rock it. You really do. So that's a great event.
I appreciate that. So make sure you mark your calendars for that. And then if you're not in the Newark area, people will catch us next year. We have not 4, but 5 ChannelPro SMB Forum 2020 live shows. On top of our online summits, we also, like people don't know, we also do a lot of online summits. In fact, it'll be a little too late for people today, but today we have our online summit going on for the first summit we've done specifically for the Canadian market and for our Canadian readers. It's the Canadian IT Service Provider Online Summit. So if you're listening to this, it'll be a little too late to watch that. To at least to watch it live. For a small fee, you can pay to get access to that content in real time, on demand, and whenever you want. So you can check that out, the Canadian IT Service Provider Online Summit. But December 4th, we have another online summit coming up, the Managed IT Service Provider MSP Online Summit 2019, December 4th. Go to events.channelpronetwork.com, and you'll be able to check out information on that upcoming summit and how you can attend. But for 2020, you want to see us live, you want to see me, you want to see Rich, hopefully we'll see Dave in our 2020 shows as well. We'll be in Dallas March 5th, the Washington, D.C. area on May 6th. We're going to North Carolina. First time we've ever done a show in North Carolina. We're going to Raleigh, North Carolina, July 8th. We will be in Boston at the Boston Marriott Newton, where we've done some shows before. So if you've been to the Boston Marriott and seen the ChannelPro SMB Forum, come again. We want to see you. It'll be all new content next year. Lots for you to see. It'll be great. And if you've never been to a show, it's a perfect time to come. And of course, November 5th, we will be back in the Los Angeles area, City of Industry, which I hear is very convenient for people to get to. We've been trying hard. We take feedback seriously. We know that the last location we had in Southern California was not the easiest to get to. We've really looked around to find a venue that is more accessible. We've been told City of Industry is very accessible for most people and very easy to get to. So that is what we're hoping. It's the Pacific Palms Resort. We will see you November 5th. If you'd like to follow ChannelPro online, channelpronetwork.com is the website. From there, you can also get a link to our event site, events.channelpronetwork.com. Bookmark it. Go there every day. Make it one of your start pages. We've got news, articles, important information for your business each and every single day. Rolling down the homepage. Always something new all the time. Lots of great white papers, resources, downloads. And, of course, if you want to go and check out previous episodes of ChannelPro Weekly, they're all there. They're all online. Episodes 1 to 119 as of when this one hits. So you can go back, listen to any one of them. Some of the news might be a little old, but we talk about a lot on the show. And even some of those old episodes, I've even told not even long ago at our last show, someone said, hey, I went and listened to episode 18. And even though it's a year and 6 months old, some of the topics we were talking about and interviews we did were totally relevant and helped them. And that was always great to hear. So we try to make these shows worthwhile listening now and even in the future. So check that out. If you want to subscribe to ChannelPro Weekly, which is really what you should do, Dave, rather than just try to see when we put a new episode out.
I do already.
Well, I appreciate that. And everyone else should too, because when you subscribe, go to iTunes, go to Google Play Podcasts, go to Stitcher, go to wherever you get podcasts. You should find us there. If not, we do have a generic RSS link that you can drop into any podcast application on any device, and it will work. And boom, as soon as we do an episode, they just start sinking straight down. You don't have to think about it. It's just there as soon as we put it out. That is the way to do it. If you like to watch the show, we are on YouTube. You can go and you can subscribe. YouTube's kind of weird because they have like that subscribe button, but that like actually doesn't do anything anymore, apparently. Like you said subscribe, and it's like, okay, yay, you subscribed. But if you want to know when we have new shows, you have to hit like the bell, because there's a subscribe and then the bell after that. Hit the bell, then you'll get notifications when we have new shows available for you to go and watch. And we'd love to have you. If you go, join us in the comments. And if you have anything that you want to say or whatever, put it in there. Suggestions for the next show, new questions for Dave the next time we have him on, put them put them there. If you want to email us, podcast@channelpronetwork.com is the email address. That will go to me and Rich directly. So if you have suggestions, questions, thoughts on anything that we've talked about, something you want us to talk about in the future, ideas, anything you have, we want to hear from you. We will have it on the air for you. Social, there's this thing called social networks now, Dave. Have you been on one of these before?
Like which one in particular?
There's all kinds of them. There's the Facebooks, there's the Twitters, there's a bunch of them. So Dave, I bet you're on the social networks.
I am. Most of the places, if you do a # Dave Seibert, you'll find me. And every now and then it gets a little tricky because I think somewhere LinkedIn I must be like Dave Seibert 99. Dave Seibert, somebody out there took it. So and there is some humor. If you ever knew the Space 1999 sci-fi series, hence where the 99 came from.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, you know what? It's funny how those things have just kind of lasted in perpetuity. Because I have a Yahoo email address based on a nickname that I had when I was 16 years old when I created it, and I still have it. It's like for spam and stuff mostly these days, but it's amazing how those decisions we made long ago have kind of followed us into our adult life. Dave, if somebody wanted to find you on Twitter, are you active there? Do you have a Twitter handle?
Yeah. So the best place to find me is actually LinkedIn.
Okay.
And it's probably the place that I do most of my chatting, communication type things. And it's Dave Seibert 99 on LinkedIn.
All right. So find him there. If you want to follow Channel Pro on the socials, we are Channel Pro Network on Facebook. We are Channel Pro Network on LinkedIn. We are at Channel Pro SMB on Twitter. If you want to follow me, I am at Matt Whitlock on Twitter. And you'll find us there. So I gave the email address. I gave the website. You got everything you need to know. I would like to take this final moment to give a big, heartfelt digital hug to Mr. Dave Seibert for joining and co-hosting today. It was a great episode, great show, lots of good stuff that we talked about. Dave, thank you so much. I hope to see you back again.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
And for everyone else, we will see you all in episode 120 when Rich Freeman returns next week. We will talk to you all then. Lots of special surprise for episode 122, but you have to tune in to find out what it is. So we'll see you then. Have a great day.